Welcome to Immortal Works Flash Fiction Friday, episode 53, VR and PR. Excerpt by James Wymore. Narrated by John Grundvig. Ron moved silently through the night, nimbly avoiding derelict vehicles and piles of trash lining the street. His helmet filtered the air, so he didn't have to endure the smell of rot. He made sure not to dirty his boots in any of the foul liquids pooled around him, and reflected the unsteady light of a miraculously still working street lamp. Some of the puddles would be blood-tainted with bizarre diseases and contagions. A flash of light behind the corner of a distant ruined building preceded the boom by a fraction of a second. Behind it, one of his crew said into the comm, "Did you see that, Ron?" No matter how many times he scolded them, his squad sometimes still used his real name in-game. How could I miss it? Everybody check in. Mortron. Jarhead.
Megamag.
Risker. He listed his team by their real names in his head. Jared, Margot, Chris. That left Andrea. After a 2-second pause, he said, "Azria?"
"They must have gotten her,"
Margot said. Ron jogged forward, machine gun trained on the alley. "Obviously, we're not dealing with zombies or monsters. They have weapons, so expect a squad." Jared said, "I have eyes on the west side of the alley." "I'm on the east." Ron crouched lower as he eased closer to the wall. "Risker, you jet to the top so they don't escape with flight packs." "Already en route." Chemical fuel rumbled in the background when Chris's comm kicked on.
"I'm too far out," Margot said. "Don't wait for me. Kill box them before they can reform."
"Risker in position." "Jarhead, there in 3. Mortron counting down. 3, 2, 1, fire!" Ron shoved the barrel of his gun around the side of the corner and squeezed the trigger as he twisted the gun. Hollow point rounds began cutting huge chunks out of the wall and scattering shrapnel among the bullets tearing through the alley. He heard more guns reporting, so he stayed well behind the brick wall. "Arg!" one of their enemies cried out as the crossfire filled the pinched space. "Aim low!" Chris yelled. 2 are on their bellies below the fire escape. I can't hit them from here." Ron tilted his gun, sweeping the ground methodically. Brass shells fell around him like rain as the ammo belt fed from his backpack into the fully automatic death machine. Chris shouted, "They're gone! Cease fire!" Ron peeked around the corner. His eyes took a moment to adjust to the dark after the muzzle flashes stopped. A thick cloud of dust made it impossible to see anything until Jared switched on a flashlight at the other end of the alley. It projected a perfect cone into the dust. Ron moved in, gun still up. He stepped over rocks and rubble until he reached the fire escape. There he collected 4 metal badges, using his gloved thumb to wipe ash off of them. 3 were from members of the Black Vulture clan. The last had a dragon silhouette on one side, indicating their own Pyro Drake squad, and a picture of the Angel of Death on the other. They did get Azria, but at least we recovered her marker. "All clear up here," Risker called, his free hand waving.
"I've almost done a full circle," Margot said. "The last one must have retreated."
"Nothing on the scanner," Jared said. Chris pointed to his visor. "Check the register. We're alone." "Must have quit," Ron said. Margot laughed.
"Coward. Probably just saving stats."
From his perch on the roof, something caught Chris's eye. A blip of red light. He couldn't be sure at first, but as the dust slowly settled, he saw it flash again. "Bomb! Bomb! Bomb! Mortron! Jarhead, get out of there!" He watched his teammates freeze, then jump in opposite directions. Chris pulled his head back as the building shook and fire blasted up from the gap into the sky. Twisted metal and chunks of brick soared into the air, trailing flames. Not waiting for the wreckage to rain back down, Chris jumped away and engaged his jetpack. Tucking his feet up, he reached the outer edge of the building just as the one behind him shook and collapsed. He leaped off the small rim wall, gaining altitude as he opened the throttle to full. Once he cleared the falling structure, his fuel warning beeped and flashed on his face guard monitor. Chris reduced the flow and tipped back, dropping to the roof of an abandoned apartment building across the street. He turned to see the last wall of his recent perch tumble into the pile of detritus now filling the empty space where his friends had been just seconds earlier.
What just happened?
Margot screamed into her mic.
Looks like a mini nuke just went off.
Dead man's switch, Chris said. Took out Mortron and Jarhead. I only barely got free.
Where are you now? I'll fly over.
Margot's flight kit had a lot more fuel, so she did most of the aerial recon. It paired well with her deadly accuracy using the sniper rifle. Don't bother. I'm out of fuel and I don't trust the stairs in this building. We should just call it now so that we at least keep the points we have.
Okay. Meet you in the Brat Cave.
She meant their squad's restricted access room where they planned and talked between missions.
Megamag out!
Chris blinked until the meta controls came up and selected Save and Exit. The scene faded and a new virtual setting came into focus. The group inhabited a large room with soft couches arranged in a square around the table. Computer consoles, a wall-sized bookshelf, and a full-size exercise room and training dojo surrounded the meeting place. Now wearing just street clothes and a hooded jacket, Chris greeted the rest of the team. They were still in virtual reality, but they looked more like regular people now. His avatar in this place had his real-life face on a body much stronger and taller. Ron used his own face, but with longer light brown hair flowing wild, and included a goatee. Margot always had a camouflage shirt and rugged pants. Andrea wore all black clothes, like a spy or a casual ninja. Jared had a mohawk and studded biker jacket. Idiots, Ron said, waving one hand and pacing around the outside edge of the couches. Who uses a motion-activated bomb with a timer delay? There's no functional reason for that in the game.
Except revenge.
Andrea pushed a lock of dark hair out of her face.
They knew they were going to lose. We're ranked way higher. So they probably set it up thinking at least they could cut our victory points.
Well, they're officially on my list of enemies. I'll ask around online and see if I can find their base. We should go show them what happens when you try and punk the Pyro Drakes. Jared pulled out a tablet and added the Black Vultures to his list. No. Ron stopped and held up one hand. That's amateur strategy. If they have half as many defenses as we do in this place, it's a suicide mission. Yeah, and they clearly have no problem with risky explosives, Chris added. He wasn't really in it for points or prestige. He just enjoyed the missions and wanted to throw his support behind Ron.
We should issue them an open challenge at least,
Margot said. They aren't worth it. Ron took a deep breath and sat down. Everyone else seemed to relax more than he did. Even if they lose, they get more out of the association with our name than we get out of it. They got in a good lick, so we learn from it. Only one person goes in to retrieve badges from now on. I'm still going to talk trash about them online, Jared said. Ron looked at him through lowered eyes. Anonymously. Of course I won't use my real name. And would you extend the same courtesy to all of our names? Ron had a sly smile, but nobody missed his irritation. Sorry about that, man. I knew the second it came out. Jared gave a crooked smile that didn't match his punk rock style. Ron laughed. It's already forgotten. That game went short. Who's up for a second mission tonight? Always, Jared said. Any day, any time. Margot must live online, Chris guessed. Chris shook his head. Sorry. I have to get some homework done. Test tomorrow.
Anything we can help with?
Andrea's face had gothic makeup. She always wanted to keep the group together as long as possible. Not really. It's math, so I just have to grind through the problems. Chris hated to leave his team, but he'd promised himself and his mother he wouldn't let gaming get in the way of his grades. Ron said, "Do you mind if we run a 4-player side quest in the meantime?" Chris minded, but he knew it would be unfair to hold them back. No, have a blast. But not the same kind as the one we just had. He went around the circle, fist-bumping everybody. Andrea pushed her hand, so they stayed in contact just a little longer. She always did. Chris didn't know if it meant anything, but he knew Ron would beat him up in real life if he dated one of their squad members and broke the team up when the relationship went bad. Risker out. Chris pulled up the meta controls and selected his least favorite one. Exit game. Get the rest of the story in the Gamelit expansion pack, available for pre-order now on Amazon. Thanks for listening to Immortal Works Flash Fiction Friday. If you have a submission, please send it to submissions@immortal-works.com.